of shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall. Mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines. Aliens sending secret signs. EVPs in the dead of night. Ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal for what we bring it to you. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue you.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another great show we're going to have. Right?
Yes, it's going to be great. We've got Robert Kalil on tonight.
Yes, he's the host of the Typical Skeptic podcast. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, he let us come on, what was it, about a month ago, Jason?
Yeah.
Something like that. He was having a big round table, and I don't know, there's probably 20
At
people
least
or
15.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
And everybody just got to go in and talk and have fun.
Yeah. So, Robert is the creator and host of Typical Skeptic Podcast. It's a top-rated show that dives deep into the fringe topics like UFOs, secret space programs, spiritual awakenings, and hidden truths that mainstream media avoids. We love that, don't we?
Yes, we do.
He's got over 1,900 episodes and counting. He's become a trusted voice in the realm of conspiracy, metaphysics, and disclosure. He interviews whistleblowers, experiencers, creating a space where truth-seeking meets open-minded skepticism. So, drawing from his own intuitive insights and years of research, Robert bridges the gap between the unexplained and the undeniable. His work is fueled by a deep passion for helping humanity, helping humanity awaken to its greater potential while keeping it real with thought-provoking conversation and humor and heart. So we're going to bring Robert on now. And
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Robert. How you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Dude, that intro is so cool. I love you guys' intro. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Jason did all that.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool intro. I love it. That song is my ringtone too.
Yeah,
Dude, I love that. That was awesome. That was amazing. Yeah, but yeah, again, no, thanks for having me. And ChatGPT made my my bio. So
hey, good job.
It did. That's a very nice bio.
Yeah.
Liked it. I had you a short one made. It was similar, but I liked yours better. So
yeah,
do you guys dip into the AI realm yet at all, or?
We dabble in it for
Yep.
pictures and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do for thumbnails and usually show research. And you guys know I do a lot of shows a day, so it really helps cut down my workload. But I try to work with the AI and don't let it think for me. If that makes any sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
I usually use it to do the descriptions of the show and the thumbnails. I've got this app that's just for YouTube, and it generates a lot of things for us. So pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Called VidQ, and it's helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll have to check that out.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask probably a question that always gets asked first, though. But what got you into wanting to be, do what it is that you do to host a show and to do all this stuff?
I probably, I'm guessing you guys might have been like this too, but when I was growing up and I was a kid, I was always the kid in class who was wondering another explanation behind things. The teacher would say one thing, but my brain was thinking, well, why isn't it this way? And why, and I was always questioning why. And I always loved the mysteries of the universe. I always wondered who built the pyramids, or why they did, or what the whole reason was. And I always wondered about alien life. And I had these thoughts early as a kid, you know what I mean? I was thinking about, because I had some weird experiences when I was a kid with it it was like an old hag attack, you know, and I didn't know how to process it. Like I was getting sleep paralysis when I was a kid, and it was turning into like, you know, like this old hag would like attack me, and it would like sit on me, and like I didn't know how to process it. And then I felt like she was some like what of a witch, and I thought she was like hiding in my parents' closet, you know, like because my parents had this big walk-in closet, you know, across from my room. So I thought this witch was like, you know, like manifesting herself in there. Well, then fast forward about say that happened maybe when I was like 9 or 10, and you know, I was really starting to question things. But then when I was 21 years old, that's when I found out about Art Bell. And I was like, and it was weird how I found out about it, because like this is 2001 and I'm 45 now. So I was 21 then. And I always say this, like every show I go on, like this is back when, you know, I maybe had a digital radio, you know, like where you still had to turn the dial, and, you know, like it was, you know, it would come in like fuzzy, you know, like, but you had to like, you know, fine tune it to the exact station to get it. And I remember hearing Art Bell, and I was like so fascinated. I was like, what is this? Because like I had saw maybe Sightings and Unsolved Mysteries, and I was like a fan of those shows, but like, you know, like this was like, you know, this was like levels beyond that, I felt, you know, like, and I tried, and how I found out about it is I was taking my girlfriend at the time home. It would be just, I would always take her home like real late at night, and it was like 12:30, 1 a.m. Probably 1 a.m. And that's when I heard Art Bell. So I started making it a thing of like to like try to listen to this guy. I had no clue who he was, you know, but I knew I liked it, you know. Yes. And I started telling my friends about it, and then it was kind of like a joke between us. We would all go get stoned and go to the Waffle House, and like we would listen to Art Bell on the way, and then we would like, you know, talk about like stuff all night about like what, you know, what we thought about this or that and stuff. And then I would say like I kind of always followed like UFO radio. Like I would always, you know, watch like reports by like Alejandro Rojas. I remember he was on a show maybe circa like 2005 to 2009. I can't remember. I think it was called Open Minds, but like it wasn't the Open Minds that's real popular. I don't, or maybe it was. I don't know. But I remember listening to that, and then like you know, like time goes by just like everything else in life, and then I got, you know, caught up in some bad stuff, and then and I don't know if you really want me to get into that, but I can. You know, it's not something I had some rough experiences, and then in 2015 I was like, you know, trying to better my life, and I had like a reawakening. Like I was always like interested in like ancient history, you know. So I was researching like something about Alexander the Great, you know, because I always loved like that history from over that, like the Mediterranean, and I have that in my blood. Like my mom's Greek and Italian, and my dad's like Lebanese. Like we're real American, right? Like, you know, I'm fourth generation American. Like my dad was in the Vietnam War, and my grandfather was in World War II. He was a POW, but you know, that's just like my heritage. So I was researching Alexander the Great, and then I stumbled across this video on the Anunnaki, and it was by Matthew LaCroix. And it was called The Battle of the Eagle and the Serpent. And I watched it, and I was like, what is this? And I remember emailing him right away, and I was like, who are these gods? I was like, why are they not telling about us this? And like, why is like our history been like a big lie? And like, you know, it was like a shock to me at first. Like it was like a big shock. I was like, I can't believe that like this has been like covered up, you know? So then that made me go down like I guess like you could say every rabbit hole possible. And then I had remembered about listening to Art Bell as a kid. So I started listening to old Art Bell episodes again, along with like, you know, shows like Leak Project with Rex Bear. And then I was watching Forbidden Knowledge News with Chris Matthew. I liked those shows a lot. And, you know, and then in 2020, the pandemic hit. Like so after like 5 years of like doing research and this and that, you know, I decided, I was like, I'm going to start interviewing people. And then I started interviewing people, and then, you know, in 2023, I was working like a not so great job, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna quit. And I'm gonna try to focus 100% of my time on the podcast, and that's what I've been doing since. And that's kind of like the story, you know.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
and then to be able to take a leap of faith and just say, you know what, I'm doing this full time.
Yeah.
That's
I sure wish we could. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
ready to retire from my job right now and do this, but we still got a little ways to go. We got a question. I don't know if you've seen it pop up there. Jason H wanted to know if you had any favorite Art Bell episodes.
Oh, I mean, there's so many. That Jason, by the way, Jason's one of my moderators. He's awesome. His Jason Hartman's his name, and he's a big he can tell you if you want to ask him a question, he'll tell you anything about weed. Like he knows weed like better than anybody on this planet. I swear to God, like he's a but you know, that's cool. He's here, but I mean, I love, so big shout out to Jason, but I love all the Art Bell. I mean, like I like the one with Jonathan Reed about the alien in the freezer. I don't know if you guys remember, that was a funny
Yes.
one.
Yes.
I like obviously all the John Lear episodes, the Bob Lazar. I'm sure.
Yeah, we're real Art Bell fans.
Yes.
It's went downhill since Nori, but Art Bell was the best.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, I even listened to some old stuff he did with, like, when he had Carla Turner on, and I truly believe that Carla Turner might have been murdered. You know, and
Yeah.
I think James Bartley thinks that as well, or you know, he's not, because I've been James Bartley on my show, and he said he was kind of like an understudy to Carla Turner and Barbara Bartholomew, who were like early abduction researchers, you know. And I thought it was interesting that Carla was on Art Bell, you know, before. And I think it was like a real early episode, but it's out there. You can find it. It's a good one too.
Yeah, being a truck driver, I used to listen to it all the time.
Dude, I envy you. I always wanted that life. I always wanted to be like on the open road, and I always wanted to be like driving in the desert and listening to Art Bell. I feel like there'd be no better feeling in the world, you know?
I like to drive at night too. So then, you know, I got to do it at night. I had some pretty crazy things happen sometimes though. Like one night I was on my way back and I was it was either New Mexico or it was Arizona, but it was open desert as far as the eye could see at the time where I was at. And I'm driving, then all of a sudden I see this big fireball out my passenger window, and I look over, and it's like a meteorite coming down, and this thing is like blue, like this really pretty blue color with some red coming off of it, and that thing starts like coming so close to the ground but it's coming towards the interstate, towards me. But it's so close to the ground that you could kind of see it cast the light casting a shadow on the ground. And then it finally just went out. And I was like, because I really thought it was about to hit me. But got to see some pretty cool stuff like that before.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been out to like near Area 51 and the Little Alien Inn, like all that like UFO tourist stuff out by Nevada? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do, but I have never driving the truck as long as I ever did. We never went out that way. We wanted to go though, for sure. Yeah.
What did you do? If you don't mind me asking, did you drive like food or something like that, or was it like?
So I drove like flatbed, and what we did is we pulled. So right here around where we live, there's a bunch of boat manufacturers. So we pulled boats like Mastercraft Malibu, Skier's Choice boats. So really expensive, rich people's boats all over the United States, all over Canada, and even to Alaska.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I always wanted to be a truck driver. That's why I'm so interested in it. And then, but I think I'm like not the best driver, honestly. Like, I feel like if I was driving a big truck, like I'd wreck. Like, did you ever get scared? Like, because that's a huge vehicle, you know. Like, was it tough, or like was it? Do you get the hang of it?
Yeah, you get used to it. You know, the trick to anything like that is to not get too used to it. So then that way you're not, you know, just totally relaxed. But you know, I had some crazy stuff happen while on the road, and it was, you know, I had one time where a truck was going westbound. I'm coming eastbound, coming back towards the house. And, it was probably 2:00 in the morning. And all of a sudden I see headlights coming towards me, and an 18-wheeler had gone through the median, come back up onto my side of the road, and was coming at me. He wasn't no more than a football field away from me. And he finally made it all the way over across the interstate and flipped his truck over.
Oh
And so
my
I was
God.
already, yeah. And by the time that all happened, I was probably, I don't know, 40, 50 yards from him. And so I was already on the phone with 911 and pulling over to make sure he was okay and everything, and stayed there till the ambulance and stuff got there. But yeah, you see some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah.
Like so like I told you guys the first part about my journey, but then, like I would say in 2021 and 2022, that's when I started interviewing what you could call like SSP whistleblowers, and not just SSP whistleblowers, but then I started interviewing people who are Milabs, like, so, people who've been also abducted by aliens, but then, people who've had military abduction encounters, and then even, like targeted individuals too, and I find this fascinating because I know a lot of it can't be proven. So I'm definitely skeptical, but I try to provide a place where people can come and tell their story where they won't get judged, because, I feel like maybe everybody did have something happen, and maybe we're trying to put the pieces together. And then I feel like maybe this world's a lot more mysterious than anything we've ever been taught. And like, whether it's like we're talking about the world being like a multi-dimensional place where parallel realities exist and people could be having experiences in other dimensions or other realities or other something that we can't even start to understand. And then, I found that, like, when you talk about the SSP people, the Milabs, and even alien abductees and targeted individuals, all four of those, like, it seems like they all correlate. Like, like someone who's targeted might also have like an SSP experience that they're not sure about, or they might have had a military encounter, or they might have had an alien encounter, or vice versa. You can kind of mix match any of those. Like, so someone that's claiming they're in the SSP, they might currently be targeted. They might have someone like gang stalking them, or they might have some weird shit going on outside their house. They might have helicopters flying over their house, and it really makes people who are having these encounters, start to wonder what the hell's really going on here. You know what I mean? Because if people are going out of their way to target people, and again, I can't prove all this. I can tell you, I've had some weird shit happen to me too. But like, if people are going out of their way to cover this up, and not just cover it up, but put disinformation in our community too. I've heard stories of agents being in our community, like that are, acting as podcasters, or when you go to conferences, they're acting as, a conference goer, but they're really like an FBI agent. So for that to happen, it makes me think, well, there's definitely something they don't want us to know about. Now, I don't know how much of it's 100%, legit. I just, like in my personal life, I'm very skeptical. And then in my show, I'm like, I'm really open-minded. I let people kind of say whatever they're going to say, if that makes any sense.
Yep. That's kind of what we do with our show too. We just, it's a platform for people to get whatever it is out that they want to get out, and that's how we kind of use it. It's not necessarily Jason and David putting out information. It's us giving someone else the opportunity to put out what information they have,
Yeah. So are all your shows live?
Well, not all of them, but I do like to do them live because, like, I'm like you guys, I use StreamYard. And then for me to, because I put out so much content, like, I found it really easy. Like if I do StreamYard, then I can do Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook all at once. And then also I can, and then all I have to do after that is just put it out on, audio, because I do an audio podcast too. But then I have an archive on Odyssey, but I don't have many followers on Odyssey. But like, it's interesting, all the stuff that they took off of YouTube, a lot of that's on my Odyssey channel. A lot of it's on Rumble too, but more of it's on Odyssey, so I'd love to build up the Odyssey channel because they're pretty good with free speech too. And then I tried building a little bit of a TikTok too, but with TikTok, like they started hammering me just like YouTube did. Like, I think I posted a video on the Soul Trap. It was with Tony Sayers. Mm-hmm. And like after 3 minutes of it being up on TikTok, they took it down. I was like, what is this? I mean, like, all
Wow.
we're doing is providing theories. We're not even like, so I tried adding a disclaimer, to my show saying it's for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. The views of the guests are their own and they don't represent the platform. And, always use your discretion when you watch my show. And, I tried to do something like that. It doesn't matter. I still get hammered, and then what I find even more weird is like, there's some people on the YouTube that they seem to get away with this. Like they're allowed to talk about things and they don't get a slap on the wrist for it. But like me, I get my whole channel taken down, so I'm trying to figure the whole censorship thing out. I don't know. But like, to go back to your original question, like I try to do a lot of lives because, with the StreamYard, I can do it to multiple places and then I don't have to upload to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You
It
can
does
also
make it a lot easier.
You can also just download the audio from there too, and that's what we do. Just post the audio up to Spreaker and places like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I find it really convenient. I like the fact you can add banners and you can add videos and stuff like that. And it's pretty user friendly. Like I've heard of some other stuff like Streamlabs and OBS, and like they seem a lot more complicated than, I don't know. I haven't really tried them yet. Yeah.
So, Jason wants to know, well, he said you dive into a bunch of rabbit holes. So is there a particular aspect of paranormal that you find really fascinating?
I love it all. I love it all. I really do. I love it. I love if he means just the paranormal, because we could talk about like all the UFO stuff. I love the UFO stuff. But probably my favorite, subject is talking about the UFO. If you would consider that paranormal, but some people consider paranormal just shadow people and ghosts and demons and stuff like that. But like, I kind of wrap it all into. I think it's all paranormal, right? It's all kind of supernatural.
Anything that's not normal is paranormal to me.
That's why we went with Paranormal 411, because it's like if it's not, something that's explainable, then it's got to be paranormal. It's not normal. So yeah, we're with
I like
you
your
on
name because I remember there was a rap song back in the day. It was called "What's the 411?" And that means like what's the information, right? So it's like,
I'm glad he gets that, because a lot of people come up and say,
they'll ask
man,
us,
what's 411?
Yeah,
what's
they think it's highway, because we have a highway 411 not far from here. And a lot of them think,
old school, man.
Like, hey, I've been on 411. What is this for? And I was like, well, back in the old days, you'd pick up your phone and you'd hit 411, and that's information. 411 meant information, so we're paranormal information. That's what we are.
Dude, I love talking about the old days. Like sometimes I'll go off on a tangent on my show and I'll start talking about the early days of the internet, which I found so funny. When we had like the dial-up modems and like America Online and like the AOL chat rooms and MySpace, and dude, it was hilarious. But one thing I found back then is I wasn't as big of I wasn't into researching as much as I was then, but I would look for like UFOs names. I remember some of those old HTML sites having like a lot of good like information on them, or at least at that time I thought they did, I was always a big fan of Coast to Coast, and I still watch it now, I still listen to it now, but I mean, I like, I'm not a big fan of, if I were to meet George Norrie in person, I would probably give him a lot of respect and I'd shake his hand and stuff. But like, I'm more a fan of like Richard Syrett, Connie Willis, George Knapp. Those are the hosts that I really like on Coast, because that's why I listen now from them. I mean, I don't have anything against Norrie, but I'm not sure if Art did, or what happened there. Like the arts exit from Premier Radio is not good. There's a lot of shady stuff that happened there. It seemed like
there's a lot of stuff that happened, and it all happened right around some stuff that was going on with his kid and stuff like that. So he took his leave, and he wasn't going to come back. And then if you remember, he did come back to the show.
In the desert.
And then he left again, and then he started. I forgot what the name of the next show was.
Dark Matter on Sirius XM. That was the first one before he did Midnight in the Desert.
Then he went to Midnight in the Desert, and that's where he was just before he died. So,
Yeah, and what I found interesting was when he was doing Midnight in the Desert, he had to shut the show down a couple times, or even not even do the show because he had like a shooter outside on his property, which I thought was crazy. And I was like, who's sending shooters to his house? Or I mean, but see, with him though, it's like you can't say for sure. You couldn't say it was someone who got mad at him about this or that because like there were so many people that watched his show. It could have been any psychopath that like wanted to stalk him. You know?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. He just brought some kind of feeling to it when he talked about it. It was like you could tell he was genuinely interested in the subjects and the people he had on. And look, if he thought someone was BSing him after a little bit, he'd be like, "Poop! Hey, we're going to open lines." He'd boot them and go. You know, he was something.
He was amazing. You know, I still listen to Art Bell like every night when I go to sleep. Like I found a really good channel on Rumble. It's called All Things Art Bell, and he does he'll do like 8 to 10 hour compilations. Like he'll do one on alien abductions, and he'll play like 4 art episodes from like that dealt with that, or he'll do harp, or he'll do like I love that. You know, I love when people put together playlists and compilations and stuff like that. Because art had such a soothing voice. You can kind of like listen to it right when you're sleeping. And I'll usually put that on in like some kind of binaural beat or something like that, or a frequency, and then I'm good to sleep for a while.
Yeah. One of my favorite episodes he had was the flyer, the guy flying over Area 51 called in while he was flying over there.
Oh yeah.
And he was they shot him down, I reckon.
I think they forced him down is what happened.
Well, he said there's something opening up down there. Oh, it's a big gun. And that's the last you heard of it. Boom. You heard the boom, and then he was gone. It was wild.
There's one that I always wondered what happened. There was this guy that came on when Art was on Coast to Coast. The guy's name was Dallas Thompson, and this guy Dallas Thompson had a plan to he was going to somehow go into Inner Earth. Like he was saying to Art that he knew about an entrance into Inner Earth, and that he was going to use this like mini helicopter type thing to I guess, travel through there. And he said he knew these beings that were existing down there, and he knew everything. I don't know. It was a wild episode. I think that was called something about the Hollow Earth with Dallas Thompson. So I tried looking that dude up. I was like, well, I wonder whatever happened to Dallas Thompson. He's like nowhere to be found on the internet.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
It makes you wonder like, what happened to some of these people,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way about some of them, like Madman Markham.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
Yeah.
Mel's Hole.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Victor.
Yeah, and they have like multiple ones. I think there's like 3 Madman Markham episodes, and then there's like like 5 Mel's Hole or 4 Mel's Hole or something like that. There's a lot. Yeah. They're cool.
Yeah. Those.
What do you guys think about Mel's Hole? Do you think it was like a entrance? I mean, like obviously you would need something to get down there, but like, do you think it was like some kind of portal to Inner Earth or something, or to like a reptilian lair or something like that?
I've heard that it was a reptilian lair, that because in the story he tells creatures start coming up out of that thing, and it looked like an egg came out of it and hatched right there on the spot. And ants or reptilians, they lay eggs. So, it was kind of weird.
Yeah. It's strange.
That's what I think.
I don't know if I asked you this when you guys were on my show, and thanks for coming on. But like, I wanted to ask you, have you guys ever had anything like weird experiences? And I know this is more about me, but I'm so interested to hear, like, have you guys ever had like an abduction experience or a contact experience that you're not sure of, or like, or even paranormal or something like that?
Well, for me, paranormal, especially when it comes to ghosts, I started seeing ghosts at the age of 3, and have seen ghosts my whole life. So that's kind of where my path went in. That's where I started at a young age, started veering off from everything else and trying to figure out what's going on, And I've seen a a Bigfoot. He wasn't that far away from, about 4 car lengths away. Being a truck driver, was going to was in on I-90 in Washington State, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and it was a road sighting. You know, probably one of the most typical sightings that you get. But he about 3 steps come across the interstate and was going back up the other side of the mountain, and it was just like you snap your fingers, and he was that fast. But he was big. I'll tell you that. I know that I could have pulled over on the interstate, rolled my window down, and had a face-to-face conversation with him.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's a place here. I think you guys probably have heard this. Since you guys are in the paranormal, you had to have heard. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. But have you guys ever heard of the Chestnut Ridge?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but that's like that's literally like a county over from me here. It's like it's very close to me in Pennsylvania. And for the people that don't know, for your fans, I'm sure they probably know. But I mean, I'll just say, so like the Chestnut Ridge is like a long strip from here in Pennsylvania. It goes from like Western Pennsylvania to I think West Virginia. And on this ridge, they have everything paranormal, from UFOs to Bigfoot to crazy cryptid encounters, from like we get Thunderbirds, we get Black Panthers, which aren't, they're definitely not native to Pennsylvania, and all in between, orbs, and I got to meet one of the researchers who researched the ridge really well. Is Stan Gordon, and sometimes people get him mixed up with the comic book guy. I think that was right. Stan Lee, but I mean, Stan's a really nice guy. He started a UFO hotline here in Pittsburgh, like back in 1969. He started letting people call in and tell their UFO and stuff experiences and stuff like that, and then he would go investigate it. And we had a UFO flap here in the 70s here in Pittsburgh, which was pretty big. And then I've also had Ron Murphy on my show. They call him the crypto guru, and he was telling me that back in the day, on the radio here in Pittsburgh, that it was normal for them to talk about like paranormal stuff. Like they would talk about like UFO sightings and paranormal stuff, and then somewhere along the line they get in with it, and I don't know if that says something about where we're at here, but yeah, it's a pretty fascinating state as far as like Pennsylvania, as far as like cryptid research and UFOs and all the above,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
I've had a out-of-body experience one time.
Wow.
And it was crazy. It scared me to death. I was asleep, and all of a sudden I'm up on the ceiling looking down at myself sleeping. It was so real. It had to be real. I was just looking down on myself sleeping, but it just felt like a magnet was pulling me further and further up and up, and I was like, how you trying to swim back. So I was trying to swim back to my body, and when I did finally get back to my body, I woke up just like that, and then it scared me to death.
And I've always wanted to do that.
There's no telling how far I could have gone if I'd have just kept going. It might have been a near-death experience. I don't know, but it was either the OBE or I died in my sleep for a minute.
Can I ask you a question? What did the world look like when you were outside of your body? Does it look more colorful, or does it look the same as it would look, like if you were looking at it from like a, from the sky or something, or, just like in regular 3D Earth? Was it the same?
Yeah, it looked the same to me. I mean, nothing really was stood out, but as far as I can remember, it's been about 15, 20 years ago, maybe. But yeah, it was just so real, and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah,
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do it again.
There was a point where I was trying to force myself to I was trying to have an out of body experience. I was doing the Robert Monroe Hemisync binaural beats, and I would put them on every night, and I would try to like stimulate an out of body experience. I'd get into a meditative state, and then I remember I would get to the point where if you guys have like studied OBEs, like you know that like right before you're about to have an OBE, you reach this like body vibration state, which is kind of scary. Like your whole body will start shaking, you know, and that happened to me like a couple times. But I could never get past that body vibration state. You know, some people that doesn't happen to though. Like in your case, it could have just been that you just popped out of body, but some people go through that body vibration, and I definitely do, and I can't get past it. There was one point I remember where I was at the body vibration state, and I felt like I had gotten out of body, but then I saw like two shadow people, and I can't remember if I saw them in my eye or in my mind's eye, but somehow I was able to see them. My eyes were closed. If that makes, I don't know, but like, and it scared the shit out of me, and like. I pulled back from the whole experience, and because I thought maybe they were gonna try to body snatch me or something. You know, like I was worried about like if my body's over, my etheric body's out here and I'm traveling all around, so any entity could jump in my body and like manipulate it. Which I don't know if that's true. You know, like I mean, well, I could tell you, and I think I told you guys this on my show when you guys were on my show. I was talking. I've had a weird entity attachment for 2 months, and I still haven't been able to shake it. Like. I'm able to, like I have my full cognitive abilities and I'm able to do my show and I'm able to live my life and, I'm still kind and considerate and I'm a good person, but like I can tell when the entity is trying to mess with me or when it's trying to mess with my mind. It's really forced me to have to like learn, use discernment because the entity tries to mess with my mind and then it tries to, I don't want to talk about it too much because it gives it power, but like, it will latch onto my ear or it'll feel like there's a magnet on my head or, sometimes when I lay down, I could feel the entities going in my nose and my ears and my eyes. So I've had to use everything from frequencies to, prayer, holy water, sage. I mean, you name it. I've tried everything. I've had 8 people try to clear me. 8 energy workers. My Native American friend, Greg Yawakia, he's a shaman. He did it. He did a clearing. I had a Christian deliverance minister try to clear me. Then I was working with a Japanese Shinto priest. He was reading a Narito, and he seemed to help a lot, but like that didn't take it away. You know what I mean? Like nobody's been able to take it away. I mean, but again, like I'm living my life. Like I'm okay. It's just I just happen to have this energy attached to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Do you think it's like mischievous and it wants to harm you?
Well,
or
what it feels like is like it feels like an astral parasite. It doesn't feel like demonic because the only paranormal phenomena that it was the most it was able to make happen here was it makes my room cold, and then it also like it will make bumps come off my bed. So I have a futon like behind me because my ex-girlfriend got my bed. Like I broke up with my ex-girlfriend 2 years ago, and anyway, that's a different story. But so anyway, I'm sleeping on the futon, and it would make bumps come up off it, like or like it was like like I'd feel it going into my back, or I'd feel it going, the bump coming up. So I'd get pissed and I'd just elbow it, or like I mean, 'cause that's the only way I know how to fight back. You know what I mean? I mean, I have learned some things. Like for example, like I have these 2 crystals here. When I feel the entity going up my body, like I know this is going to sound weird, but just hear me out on this, okay? Mm-hmm. When I've had to learn things. I've had to learn how to fight back against these entities. When I feel the entity like creeping up on my ear or anything, I can take these 2 crystals and squeeze them, and then I can close my eyes, and the crystals will send energy through my hands. And I can direct that energy and fire shots at it to wherever it's affecting me. Fire shots of energy to my ear, fire shots of energy to my crown, and it takes it away. But it just doesn't take it away permanently, which is like, but I've learned how to do heart coherence breathing from a guy. His name is Sadhu Da. He's a demonologist who lives in Thailand. And he taught me heart coherence where you're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then you're expanding your stomach, and then you're bringing it in, and that's almost like DMT breathing in a way because it relaxes you, but it also puts you in like an altered state to where you can kind of charge your energy and you can start to manipulate your energy. So and I've learned other stuff too, and I've used physical tools too, like like religious relics, sage, holy water, I've tried everything basically, but I mean, I'd even like to write a book someday about, like entity attachments and what I've went through, because, I haven't had your normal, like, it's not a demonic haunting in a sense to where, I'm seeing like apparitions and stuff like that. It's just like an energy that's attached to me that I can feel, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yep. Because I have a theory that I think that a lot of it is, say, dimensional ticks, right? They're these beings that come in and they latch on to get whatever it is that they're getting, but they're a parasite, and I believe that that's what a lot of people, end up with.
I got a question for you. I thought, like, first I thought that someone sent this to me like black magic, which that could be, that could be true. But then I thought, well, we definitely, they say we go to places when we sleep, right? They say we go to other dimensions. Like maybe we're all doing stuff in other dimensions, and maybe sometimes we bring this stuff back with us. But here's another thing. This is something I don't know if I told you guys this last time when you were on my show. But I remember, Jason, I think you told me you have a lot of experience with entities. That's why I was excited to tell you guys this stuff, because I wanted to get your input on it. But here's what I remember to the best of my ability. So 2 years ago when my ex-girlfriend was here, like something would start touching me at night. And then, it felt weird. And like I thought it was her, but it wasn't her. I would look over and she was like dead asleep. And then me and her broke up, and I went through like a big depression. And then I sought out someone to like get rid of that, right? And it seemed to go away. Then then I went through a long depression. Then about 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with like non-alcoholic fatty liver, which why that ties into what I'm about to say is because I would be sleeping this is 6 months ago. I would be sleeping at night, and it felt like entities were like literally like coming up, like portaling in off the ground while I was sleeping and like loosh feeding off my liver, which I know that sounds insane, but like that's honestly how I felt, And, I, again, like I'm not claiming that, I can't prove anything, but this is, my dad died when I was 21. All I can tell you is I'll put my right hand up to God. This is the honest to God truth, the best of my knowledge, the best of my ability. I'm not, because people have told me I'm in the secret space program. People have told me I've been abducted. I don't have any memories of that, right? So I can't tell anything about that. But this I can tell you about, because these are things that like I have firsthand experience with. But then so that started happening, and then I got rid of that. I found someone in my friend Phil Barrow. He's amazing. He's an energy healer out of UK. He got rid of that. Then 2 months ago, this is what I remember to the best of my knowledge. I was getting energy work at the time. My friend Priscilla was doing energy work on me to try to heal my liver. So it was pretty common for me to go to bed at night and like I would feel like I was being touched because I knew shit that was her. Like I was used to her working on my liver. And if you guys want to talk about this, I'm really interested in energy work and how it works, because I've had a lot of experience with people that can really like reach out and touch you from thousands of miles away. Like I have a lot of friends who are energy healers, that's what they do, and they're able to like, help people and heal them from like far away. My one friend, her name's Eve Howard. She's a Native American. She's amazing. I feel like she truly healed my aunt. Like I haven't even talked about this on my show because I was trying to keep it low key, but I mean, my aunt got diagnosed with cancer. We're on YouTube, never mind. But she was able to help my aunt. Just say I don't want to, but again, we're not giving any medical advice, guys, and we're not diagnosing anything for YouTube purposes. But then, so what I was saying was, so about 2 months ago, I was laying here and I thought I was getting energy work done, but the one night something came in to my space, and I had just laid down and it felt like it was touching me, but then it felt like it was scanning me. And I didn't know what this was, it felt weird. And it happened like multiple nights, So I asked a couple of my friends about it. I said, something's weird, like something's coming in here and touching me again. And then one of my friends said, go with it. It might be upgrades. Well, that was the biggest mistake I ever made, because, well, it seemed to be that whatever this thing was, like it was on a mission. So it was going to do what it was going to do no matter what. But whatever happened. So the one night I was laying here and it felt like it was scanning me. It scanned my head. And then it pierced my crown, okay? And it sent a burning sensation throughout my head and brain. and then flashes went through my eyes. I had my eyes closed, flashes went through my eyes, and my whole body started shaking. And I jumped out of bed and I said, what the F was that? I said, what the F was that? I said, that wasn't an upgrade. I said, that was insane. And ever since then, I've had some kind of weird energy attachment. I've even thought it's like maybe it could be AI. I mean, I'm not like I'm kind of open-minded to all this stuff, right? Like I don't ever like settle on a theory or anything like that because at the end of the day, I don't know. You know what I mean? Right. But I'm open to it. So I've even thought maybe it could be AI because I was working with ChatGPT and like, you know, maybe it could be an AI nanobot or something like that. You know, you hear a lot about that in like the targeted individual community that like people get targeted by nanobots and like, you know, self-assembling nanites that can form into people's bodies and do all kinds of weird shit. But I mean, so I'm open to that too. I don't know though, you know.
That's actually kind of interesting though. I mean, what do you think that if it would be, say, AI or nanotechnology, what do you think that their ultimate goal for that would be?
It seems to me like they would want to like assimilate to like either study the person. I don't know if it's to take over the person because whatever this energy is, it's not powerful enough to like, you know, like I still have all my, you know, thank God I still have all my cognition and everything. Like it just seems to be an energy that like kind of like, I don't know, like, you know, it like creeps up on me and, you know, I have to fight it off. And like, you know, if it is AI, I'm not sure if it is, but like, you know, the fact that like, you know, like I had, when I did the Christian deliverance, like, you know, I felt the demons come off me. Like I felt like spirits come off me. And then I jumped in the shower and I came out and like about an hour later, they reattached. Like I felt it reattached. And I was like, every time I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. I was like, when is this going to end? You know, it's like, I mean, and some days are better than others. Like some days I have a good day and then some days are like really bad, you know?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
It's,
did you, during, I don't know if I should say it, but just wondering if you had the vaccine.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. Great. I started to say that, you know, could be tied into that, but we didn't take it either. So
nope.
Yeah.
Just talking about, you know, truckers going to have to do it. And I was like, well, I guess I won't be a trucker no more.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know because that stuff changes your DNA.
Yeah. That last RNA one, that's what.
Yeah. And I didn't know. I mean, that could maybe, I don't know, have something to do with what you were feeling if they were trying to connect with you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I have no clue what it is, but like from you guys, like I know you said you guys have a lot of experience in entities. Like, have you ever experienced anything like this? Like, have you ever heard anybody with anything similar to mine? And if you did, like, how did they end up eventually clearing?
Right.
Well, the one that we had the most experience with did not get cleared because they were actually, it made them just quit contact with us and everything. David, you want to tell him?
Yeah. I told the story on your show that, about the little girl that I was going to help. I had her draw me a picture of the entity because she saw it and it come to her all the time, telling her to hurt her sister and all kinds of stuff like that. And when she drew me a picture, have you ever seen like the Black-Eyed Children?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. But it was a little girl. And she drew it with its mouth wide open and it had like rows of like shark teeth, like rows and rows on the top and bottom of shark teeth. And this is the entity that, or the thing that, you know, was tormenting this little girl. And so, you know, I went over, I found what I was pretty sure, because this was something that had happened and then it went away and then it came back again, for the family or for the little girl, most of all. But, so I think I found what it was or what it was attached to. And I made it a promise. I said, I'm going to get rid of you tomorrow, and you're not going to be able to, hurt this little girl anymore. And so my plan was to take the drawing to work, because Jason and I worked together at the time, was to take the drawing to work so Jason could see it. And Jason was going to come over the next day and do an investigation of his own and see if he come up with the same thing that I did. I wasn't going to tell him what I came up with or anything else. I just, 2 separate investigations. It's just, it's good that way. So, got home from work that night, went to bed. 3:00 in the morning, an alarm right outside my bedroom door, a fire alarm. They were wired in fire alarms. Started just blaring. I jumped up out of bed, opened up the door, and as soon as I took a step into the hallway, it went off. And I said, I know that it's you. I said, I didn't invite you into my home. I said, you're not welcome here. And I'm still going to get rid of you tomorrow. And then they stopped answering the phone. That next day we went to have Jason go and everything, and completely stopped. They no longer talked to us. They wouldn't answer their phone. They wouldn't answer their door or anything. And so it was frustrating, I will say.
So when you try to get rid of this thing, are you using your state of mind? Are you telling it, or are you asking it?
I'm telling it. Like, I've tried to do everything. I've tried to do exorcism prayers. I've tried to be forceful with it, tell it, you're not welcome here. I rebuke, and, all that stuff. And it just seems to have a mind of its own, and it or not just that it has a mind of its own, but it just seems to not want to listen. It's weird. I'm not religious. I would say I'm more spiritual, but I even went to the point where I went to church on Easter. My friend thought it was good. He was like, why don't you come to church? And I went to Easter vigil, and I felt some of the entity, I felt like it was coming off me in the church. I don't think it was anything from the church. I think it's from the love that's generated in the church, because everybody goes there with a good attitude, because I don't agree with some of the Christian teachings. I don't have anything against Christianity, but mainstream religion, you know what I mean? I feel the same thing about Judaism and Islam, every religion, I feel like that, it's better to be, in my opinion, I need to be more spiritual, because I don't know, there's a lot of reasons, but I don't want to get into that. But guys,
yeah.
Oh, you're saying that?
Yeah, okay, I'm spiritual. I am
not religious.
From religious, far from it. I will have religious debates with people over their religion, because I've studied quite a bit. So
yeah. So you see it. It seems like it's a trap, right? It's weird. And then there was all that corruption in the Catholic Church, But in my case, I was at the point where I was I've had all these people try to clear me. I was like, let me just go to church and see what happens. And it seemed to come off a little bit, So it reacts to religious relics. It reacts to holy water. It reacts to sage. It reacts to, it dulls it down, but it seems like the root of it is in my back, and it hides. And, people have told me that, I've had Dr. Kim McGeorge look into it, where people know my story with her. We didn't really get along, and then we kind of made a truce, and I said, I really need help with this entity. So she made me a MP3 parasite burn, because she does that with frequencies and stuff. And that seemed to help a lot too. But again, I emailed her back. I said, I think this thing's just hiding. It's nesting in my back. And all these people that have tried to help me, it's not that these people aren't good at what they do. I think these people are some of the best in the world, and I would recommend them to everybody. I just think I have a really unique case that is really hard to deal with. And even that guy who's the Japanese Shinto priest, his name's Benton, he said that that he thought I had it, I think it was pretty bad, or he thought that it was a unique case, because he does these Naritos every night where he reads them and it like frees people of like their demons. And I was going to his group every night, and then my thing, it would clear, but then it would just reattach. So I was like, what do I need to do? You know what I mean? So I've tried everything from deliverance ministers. Then again, for people that might have not heard earlier, I've tried deliverance ministers, Japanese Shinto priests, Native American elders, energy workers. You know, I've tried anything I could. You know, I'm open to it. I just don't know what the hell is going to get rid of this thing. And my Dr. Kim said, she said it's got to come from me. She said that I need to change something about my life. And, she thinks I need to do something so drastic, like on my show. I don't know if this makes any sense, but she said I need to do something so drastic, like on my show, that would like freak the entity out and make it want to leave. And I was like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying like anything bad about her. So she sees this. I don't want her to think, and because I really appreciate her help, but like, I just don't know if I agree with that part, but like, I keep listening to the MP3 she sent me because it does seem to like take the entity away, so she's good for that stuff. She's good at clearings. I mean, but like, I know it's just like, again, it just seems like an astral parasite, and it's like, that's the best way I can put it. It's really strange. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. That, when it comes to, attachments and things like that, growing up like I did, I'll have to say, which was I grew up in a very religious home. I went to Christian private school. We was at church every day. I mean, practically and seriously, because our school was at a church. But we went for morning prayer every morning. We were there. We lived in a church practically, and so coming from that background to what I feel today, I wouldn't say it's a total 180, but I think that every religion has a piece of the puzzle. No one has it all. And I think it comes with entities and things like that too, because, all of these major religions talk about these demons and, or things that are like that. And they all have similar, but, different ways of getting rid of these things too. And, most of the time it is like that. You said that lady was talking to you about, where they're wanting you need to change something, drastically change something, whatever it is. And you see that a lot in some of these things. And also the fact that you'll see that, a lot of times after someone has these things removed, they're drastically changed. Yeah. They're not the same person. They're better for it. But
yeah, I've even tried the like an Arabic prayer, like the Manzil Dua. It says, because someone told me, it's crazy. Like when you have something like this, like so many people will come to you with information, and God bless them all. Like they're all amazing people. Like right. And I appreciate it, but sometimes it's overwhelming because everybody's like, seems to have the answer, but then it's like. But like I've had some pretty strong clearings to where like, they've really helped me out, but then it seems to just like, for some reason it reattaches. Like, I don't know if there's a portal on my, in the studio, or if when that entity came in here that night, if it created a portal or something, or, because like what I find weird is
thought about doing that, trying to close the portal.
I've tried I put like mirrors in front of my window. I've tried to do like things to like close the portal, because it felt like what it felt like was it felt like there would be a whirlwind. I'm up on the second floor, and it felt like a whirlwind would come in, and every time I would hear this whirlwind, I would feel like the astral parasites start coming in. So I was like, oh shit, it's coming in off a portal. I was like, it's coming, and I got that idea, but then I'm not sure if that's what it is, because like again, these entities can be very deceiving too. They want you to think one way when it's another way, or maybe they'll have you thinking 50 different ways, but you can't figure out the real way of what it's doing. Like, and that's the trickiest part around it.
Yep. Another thing too is what resonates with you. So,
Yeah.
I know that you've had all these people try to help you, and some have done a lot better than others. But when you think about it, and you think about getting rid of this thing, what does your soul, what does your body tell you is the right thing to do? Because I think resonance and what resonates with you matters most.
I think you're right. I
It's
just
not
don't know.
about
It's like
throwing a grenade at it and just let's try everything. Let's see what resonates
Yeah.
and let's do that.
Deep down,
or
your
maybe I should meditate, and think
Yes.
about, and yeah,
Yes.
your true
Find
intentions.
find your resonance, and when you come to that thought of this is what's going to get rid of it, and you feel it in your body, almost like when you said you was trying to go out of body, where your body gets to that vibration state, and you know that it's resonating true with you because it's literally resonating you, and that's what I would go with.
yeah.
When I pull
I've even
tarot cards,
go.
that's what I do. I've
Yeah,
been
that's
saying,
awesome. Well, one thing, and I've learned like all kinds of like tips and tricks I can give people. Like one thing I did was I was listening to a lady comes on my show. Her name's Karen McDonald, and she uses the Genius biofeedback machine. Have you guys ever heard of this?
no.
It's like an app, right? And like you put your voice into it, and then you say your voice. You say like you'll say like A-E-I-O-U for 15 seconds, right? And it's biofeedback technology that's like hooked into like all this other stuff, but it's just an app basically. I don't know exactly how it works, but then also you take a picture and then it scans your aura as well. So with the scan of the aura and the voice technology, you input that and then it tells you some things that are wrong with you. One of the things it has is spiritual protection, but it has all this other stuff too. Like it can protect you from parasites. It can, help your organs, like all kinds of stuff it claims to do. I'm not saying it does for sure, but one benefit I found of this thing is it when it plays, it's when you play the frequency, like it's like you hit the button and it plays like a 15 or 30-minute frequency. It'll play like wind chimes. I know entities don't like wind chimes, so like I like playing that. I use that frequency, and I'll kind of get into a meditative state, and then I can kind of charge my heart energy because they say love can beat these entities too. So I've learned how to listen to that frequency and kind of charge my heart energy, and again like send that energy to different places in my body where I feel like the entity's affecting me. But again, I still haven't been able to completely remove it. But I do have a lot. I do have a lot of tips and tricks. And the only Oscars in the audience says I have a good aura. Thanks. But I don't know. I can't see auras. I wish I could, because yeah. But so that's where I'm at with it. I don't know.
You'll find what resonates with you, and you'll get rid of it.
Yeah, I think so.
You will.
Your energy, I can tell by like only Oscar says, you got real high energy. I think you'll end up beating it.
Thanks. That's awesome. Like it gives me a a motivation.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely don't give up.
Yeah.
And don't let it get you to the point where you're depressed, because I think a lot of these entities and stuff, that's what they thrive on.
Yeah, they feed off.
They thrive on that fear. They thrive on that stress. They thrive on all of that other stuff,
I wonder if they can affect us more like with times like this. Like I noticed we're in a full moon right now, and I think the moon's still full. But dude, I'm telling you, this is a different subject. But when the moon goes full like this, like sometimes I want to just like sit in my studio and just not even talk to anybody, because it just seems like no matter what, there's issues with a lot of people. Like, and it's not on anybody in particular. It just seems like the full moon seems to affect people. I've heard, all different kinds of reasons that that the moon's some kind of like spaceship / reincarnation trap. And I've heard, more natural things that like the moon is like, water based and we are water based. So when the moon reacts, we react to it. It could be all those things, but one thing I've noticed, I remember I was working at Walmart one time, and it was a full moon, and this guy came in, and he was completely insane. He was banging his head off the produce and stuff, like,
Wow.
and it was during a full moon. It was definitely it was the middle of the day, but it was like a full moon. I've seen it. That place is crazy. I think I working at Walmart's not.
Yes. Yeah, that's not for the faint of heart.
You see a lot of things in Walmart.
Yeah. Someone told me one time they saw a Nordic hybrid in Walmart, and I was like, I wouldn't doubt it, But I mean, I don't know if aliens like to shop at Walmart, but
Maybe they like to people watch too.
Yeah, because it's a crazy place, right? I was there the other day, and it just gets my energy, because a little bit about my story is I was a mortgage broker for 10 years. I did mortgages, and I was like,
oh wow,
I worked for Wells Fargo Financial. I mean, I started off at a small brokerage, and I was working for my cousin. I was doing like telemarketing, and then I worked my way up to be a loan officer, and I kind of learned the tricks of the trade. I never finished college. I went to college for a little bit. I went to Drexel in Philly, and then I came back. My dad passed away when I was 21, and that was kind of like my first conspiracy. Was because my dad was in the Vietnam War, and when my dad passed away, they said he had prostate cancer. It was prostate cancer, which inevitably in 2001 they didn't have the technology to fight cancer like they do now. But I mean, it was so bad because he didn't go to the doctor. And he also drank too, I mean, he smoked and drank, and he wasn't like a mean person. He was more of like a nice person when he drank, but still the heaviness of the war, because I think he was like something like infantry or something like that. He told me a story one time, because my grandfather was a POW in World War II. He was captured by the Germans, and he was released. He was rescued somehow by the French, but that's a different story. And I can tell you, I even had regressions where I felt like I've regressed back to my grandfather's life, because I feel like our souls are all connected. Like I feel like on a soul level, like we're connected to our father, our grandfather, and I feel like I'm starting to think that we live part of those lives, because when I've had these regressions, like I went back the one time, and I saw what it was like, or I can't explain it, but in my mind's eye, I was feeling what my grandfather felt like in the prison war camp. You know what I mean? It was really bizarre. It was really bizarre. And something that's even more interesting is I looked at a photo of my grandfather right before he went to World War II, and he looks spitting image of me exactly. It's weird.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know. But like I was saying, I would always ask my grandfather and my dad about World War II and Vietnam. And my dad told me one time, I have an interesting story. My dad was like guarding a post, like that was like up in the air, like one of those high posts or whatever. And he said he got relieved from his shift, and he was walking away from the post, and it blew up. Someone blew it up. And that
man.
was it's some crazy shit. He'd be watching I remember my dad would be watching Full Metal Jacket and Platoon. When I was a kid, I grew up watching those movies. I'm real military. But then when it came time for me to go to the military, no one in my family wanted me to go to the military because of how my dad came back and what my grandfather came back like.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody's cut out for to be able to see those things and have to deal with them either,
Yeah, some people come back and they're completely normal. They write books about it, and it's like it's different for everybody,
Yep. Not everybody handles it exactly the same for sure. Yeah.
Which is crazy. I could tell you guys another story. It was really interesting, which it's not really esoteric or paranormal, but it ties into my awakening. And sorry, I had a piece of nicotine gum on me. So what happened was in 2010, I have a history with addiction, and I'm not proud of it, but it was a part of my life. I've been sober since my awakening, around 2012, 2015. And I'm proud of myself because I was living a life that was listen, if wouldn't happen, if what happened wouldn't have happened, I would have been dead or in jail, because I wasn't just like using drugs. I was like, hustling and doing all kinds of horrible shit. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was
Right.
it was a really bad life. And but what happened on New Year's Eve of 2010 was I had a guy jump in front of my car and kill himself. It was crazy. Like
Wow.
it was like I was driving up the road, and he somehow speared himself into the back right side. Like I couldn't see it. It was something, and then it turned out that like a couple women came forward and said that he tried jumping in front of their car, and I guess he was on drugs, and he was in the bar all day saying that he was going to kill someone that night, or he was going to kill himself. And so it was really crazy. And then but how it ties into the paranormal is when he hit my car, and then I pulled over and I got out and I saw him laying there, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, nobody's going to believe me. I was like, no, who's going to believe me that I'm innocent? I was like, nobody's going to believe me that I'm innocent. I was like, this is it. I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life. Well, at that moment, I knew he was dead, because there was another guy that pulled over, and he was kind of, trying to look at him to see what was going on. And I saw his rib cage come up like this, and then it went down. And when I saw his rib cage come up, I saw his soul leave his body.
Wow.
Mm.
Or at least I think I did,
Yeah. Man.
But,
That's great.
and then just to kind of finish up on that story, the next 6 months of my life were like the hardest 6 months of my life, because there was like a big investigation. And I don't have a high regard for police, but I mean, the guy who dealt with me, the investigator, he was one of the best investigators I've ever seen in real life. He was totally professional, and he nailed the whole case. Like he saw exactly that it wasn't my fault. And like, thank God for that guy, because I could have had somebody completely different, and it could have went another way, which makes me think that like everything happens for a reason. Like
Yes.
I like that. Sometimes I talk about like the prison planet and the soul trap, and that we're, maybe we're reincarnated here, like on, like, maybe that could be a thing. But then part of me like believes in like synchronicities, and the fact that like everything happens for a reason, and maybe like we have a storyboard, and like, we're meant to be here to experience things. And I don't know. It's a weird, yeah. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, that's fine. That's awesome. When it comes to what you was just talking about, though, I kind of believe in reincarnation. I think I've had a couple times in my life where I was able to see back to those incarnated other times. But the only reason I say that is because, going back to where I told you that I grew up in a very religious household. It was so religious we didn't even own TVs. Right, that was of the devil, and so we didn't have TVs in our house or nothing. And so there was no place for outside influence as far as like war movies or anything like that. And I was about, I don't know, about 9, 10 years old, somewhere right around in there. And I started having these dreams every night that I was a pilot, and I got shot down, and I was ejecting out of the plane. And what the crazy part of it is that I slept on the top bunk of the bunk beds, and I would jump off those bunk beds, and my mom would come running in there because it just, and so I had these reoccurring dreams that would happen. And then I went on a scouting trip it was like a weekend or something like that. And so I put up my little pup tent. My stepdad put his tent up next to mine, and did what, all the things that you do on scouting trips, and then went to bed that night. And probably the most lucid dream I've ever had in my life. That's the way I like to put it anyway. I woke up to the sound of bombs dropping and gunfire, and I could smell the sulfur in the air. I could smell it.
Wow.
I got out of my tent and I looked down, and I'm in fatigues. And So next thing I know is I take off running. Now, at this time of my life, we moved from Tennessee. We were living in Texas. And anybody knows anything about Texas, there's thorns and stickers everywhere. You do not walk barefooted, not even in your own yard in Texas. And I'm barefooted. And I'm running, shooting back, diving down on the ground, shooting back. And I could hear bullets just whizzing by me. And I mean, this was an experience that I could feel, taste. I was fully immersed into it. And what finally woke me up was that I was about a mile away, and it was both my feet were completely full of thorns. It's what finally brought me out of it to where I had to sit down, pull all of them out, and walk back.
Wow.
And so that put me on a course of wondering what happened. Where did those, like I said, I didn't even have, at the time of my life, I didn't even have context for any of that stuff. So what was it?
I think honestly, I really think it was a past life, man. Like, I think you were really tapping into something. Like, even Elena's journey, and she's in the audience. By the way, she's an amazing healer. By the way, she's tried to help me too. Like, I'll totally for free. She's an amazing healer. She's a very good healer. But she even says you were there. Like, like you were probably there. You were reliving the event. I totally believe that. I totally believe you were experiencing something, because I'll tell you something else that's really interesting. Like, I have these, and people that watch my podcast, like Lena and Jason, they've heard me say a lot of this stuff before. But like, what happens to me is, and you guys will probably find this fascinating. And so, and maybe you heard me say this, I can't remember if I said, but I'll have these dreams where I'll go, I feel like I'm lucid in the dream, and I'm experiencing other realities, and it feels like I'm there for like a long time, like a couple months, you know what I mean? But then I'll wake up, and I'm back here, and it's only been 5 hours. So in like 5 hours time span in our reality, I'm in this dream world, and I'm living for months at a time. And I don't have a wife or kids in this family, but in this other reality I do. And I'm like, I could be it's always like a real 3D scenario. It's never anything with like paranormal or aliens or anything. It's always like 3D. And I'm like, one of them was like, I was like milking cows, and I was like building barns. I was like on a farm, and like almost like an Amish community. It was very weird. And then other scenarios have been where like, I'm like, like it's like you remember those movies in the 90s where they're like hunt humans and stuff? Like, it was like something like that, like where I'm like being hunted by humans, and this whole like reality, or I've done something bad in the dream, like I'm like a drug dealer or something, and like someone's like trying to kill me or something, and like I'm like living out these dreams like it's like reality. You know what I mean? So it makes me think like, well, maybe our dreams are other reality. Maybe those are just parallel realities.
Yeah. Yep.
It's so bizarre, dude.
We did that show not too long ago on, on that very topic, and
what our dreams mean. Yeah.
Well, or on parallel realities.
Oh yeah.
On what was the name of the show? It was something about live forever. Quantum something. But theorists, the quantum theory is especially when it comes into the many worlds theories, the main going on is every time you turn right instead of left, or every time you make one decision, it splits everything off. It's constantly splitting every day. So there's millions of you out there living their life, but it's still you. And there is a possibility that when, say, you died in this realm, all you're doing is going from this reality into that next reality and just continuing that life.
Wow. So your soul combines almost in a way.
Yes. I don't know if you've watched it, but it was kind of a decent movie way back in the day. I think it was in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s. Well, it probably was the early 2000s, but it was called, it had Jet Li. It was called The One, Jet Li, The One.
I think I remember that. Yeah. I used to
So,
love martial arts movies,
yeah. So he was like a time cop, right? Or wasn't really a time cop, but a multi-dimensional cop, right? So they went from world to world to world. Well, in one world, he had to kill himself, defend himself by killing himself in that world. And he realized, hey, I just got stronger. I got faster. I got smarter by doing that. Well, then he started going to all these other realities and killing himself. So then he was trying to make himself immortal because he would have all of that energy in one body instead of it being spread out. And
Yeah.
so, but if you kind of take that loosely, that's kind of what the multi-worlds theory is. It is that.
Yeah, some people believe that there's like retro causality, and you can even like experience future events and like bring that information back here, right, or something like
Yes.
that. Like,
Yep.
do you think that's possible?
I think that there's somehow that we get things that, we believe wholeheartedly was the case, right? Like the Mandela Effect. And I think that you can have bleed in and out of different realities.
Yeah.
I
That's so
think it's possible.
fascinating.
Because I mean, that to me, that's what really, when you talk about the Mandela Effect and things like that, that kind of screams
You know
that
what?
multidimensional.
Oh, sorry. So I was just going to tell you, I did it. I did a show on this recently too. I had Tyler from Journey to Truth podcast on my show. It was just like 2 days ago, and he came out with a book. It's called Bleed Through, and it's all about like timeline fractures, multiple parallel realities. Like
Yep.
it's about his experiences in like these other realities. It's fascinating. It's
Yep.
but my problem is like I do these interviews and then I can't remember everything that I said in them because I do so many that like it's like hard getting all the information kind of just goes in my brain and like wow. I mean some stuff sticks,
Yeah.
but I mean it's
I understand because when you talk, like kind of what we do too, you don't stick to one subject. You talk about a little bit of everything. Well,
I like that.
yeah, and so if you do that, you don't always have immediate the ability to immediately just say, "Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about 6 months ago and this is what I researched for that particular show," because you've done 50 shows since then,
Yeah.
And certain things, like you said, certain things will stand out just like that, and you'll remember them really easily. And but when you do a show like you do, and kind of like what we do, where we talk about just a myriad of different things, we can carry on a conversation and a bunch of different stuff, but by no means are we going to be, so proficient in it that we can just talk about that one thing. Definitely
Yeah.
not for a 2-hour show.
I was going
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about the Anunnaki, like so, because I was
Yeah.
going to tell you guys, like, so that was my, like I told, that was my initial awakening point. Was like hearing about the Anunnaki, and then I read a little bit of Sitchin. Like I have the Wars of Gods and Men here, and I have the Lost Book of Enki, which that's an amazing book, by the way. But like
Love Sitchin.
yeah, but like some people diss Sitchin. They say he was a Freemason and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't know if we can prove that. And so here's where I stand on the whole Anunnaki thing. Like, I want to believe that it's true, but it's not just that. But it seems like there's evidence that they were here beyond Sitchin because there were other Assyriologists like in the 1800s that transcribed those Sumerian tablets. One was like George Smith and another Stephanie Dolly. She worked for Oxford University, and a lot of these people. And I think there's Austin Henry Layard. There's a couple. There's like a lot of them. People like Paul Wallace knows about this from The Fifth Kind, and Matthew LaCroix, and even Billy Carson. Even though I don't agree with Billy Carson, but they know that this Anunnaki thing. There's some reality to this. Because when you transcribe the tablets, like one of the things that's missing is the whole Nibiru thing. Like, like that
Yes.
doesn't seem to be a thing. But the fact that these all I can say is it seems to be like that these beings came here of some sort, whether they were interdimensional or they could have been more advanced humans or they could have been extraterrestrials. I'm kind of open to whatever they were, but the fact, to me, it seems like something was here,
Yes.
and it seems like they manipulated humans, or they genetically manipulated humans. And depending on who you ask, some people will say they downgraded us. Some people will say they upgraded us, and then people mix the reptilians in with it. So it's a whole thing, but I find it fascinating though,
Yeah, I do. I like talking about, that whole subject. From a young age, I started reading all the books, Stairway to Heaven and all those books of his, and probably read them way too many times. But
That's awesome that you did that.
yeah, like you though, I found them fascinating, and I found the fact that, in his books and stuff, he draws correlations between what's said in the tablets, and even brings in Bible scriptures and starts bringing things in and showing you where the correlations even go in there, and so it's told in a way to where you could, at least I can fully picture everything that's going on,
Yeah.
and it's believable.
Yeah, and it makes me think that, like drawing between Sitchin's work and some other people makes me think like that maybe our reality is like a Gnostic way where there's a demiurge, or which could be
Yes.
Yahweh of the Christian Bible, who we can kind of trace, that might have been Enlil from the Anunnaki,
Mhm.
and maybe he has some kind of, or maybe it's Marduk, I don't know, and maybe he has some kind of evil control along with the reptilians on this earth, and maybe that's why things happen the way they do here. Maybe that's why our air's poisoned and our food's poisoned, and it seems like they're doing everything they can to like get rid of humans here. The rates of cancer are alarming right now. People are getting
Yes.
cancer left and right. It seems like something wants to take out humanity. Like something's not happy with us being here. So I know I kind of just went from one thing to another there, but I don't know. Do you feel like there's like some kind of like evil plan here, or do you feel like maybe there might be benevolent beings looking out for us? Like I'm kind of on the fence, because like the one thing about the benevolent beings is like I want to believe in the Galactic Federation. I want to believe in Pleiadians and all that. I'm open to it, right? But they always say that there's like this Star Trek no interference clause, that like they can't interfere. Well, why can aliens come up here and abduct people, you know what I mean, and do crazy experiments on them, and they're not abiding by that law? So why did the good ones have to? I've never understood that,
Yeah.
So I went on a tangent there, right?
No, because no, I love it, because I think the same way though, because I'm like you, I want to say, oh yeah, these good ones exist and there's all this stuff, but then you have that side, like you just said, the no interference, and they can't do this and they can't do that. But then these bad ones are coming down here doing all this other stuff to us, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
Travis Walton and everybody could tell you about a lot of that stuff, right? And but at the same time, it's like, well, if they see that we're getting interfered with, why would they not try to stop it?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't they put a stop on it? Like, these people are under our protection. Leave them alone. I don't know. It just seems more like a Men in Black type thing to me. Where you just have these rogue things just coming in and out.
I think the story, I don't know if it's in the Bible. I think it is. But the story goes there was a war in heaven, and you had the good and the bad. And supposedly the bad got kicked out. What if it wasn't really the bad?
Right.
What if the good really got kicked out and was falling down, and that was maybe whoever's, the Anunnaki,
right,
or whatever. But there's different stories of that happens. So that could be, something.
Yeah.
There's even these researchers from the UK. I think it's Barry Fitzgerald and Brian Allen. they wrote a book. I can't remember the name of it, but they were saying that maybe these entities all have they're like the same. They made the argument that maybe these entities are all the same, and they just show us a different face. Like maybe meaning that maybe they're all bad, even angels. Like how people pray to Archangel Michael and all this stuff, and like maybe that's their theory, that maybe all the entities just like manipulate us, and they just show us different faces of what they want us to believe is, and the reason how people, there's people that go off on that theory, and they'll say, well, there's channelers, and they say people get good information from channeling at first, but then it ends up turning like bad. But I don't know. I know a lady who channels, and she always gets pretty good information, but I don't know. I'm so confused about this reality, like that's why I try to stay like I always try to say I have like a neutral. I'm very open-minded. In my personal life, I'm skeptical, but I like to be open-minded, and I want to believe, And I think there's a lot of evidence out there to verify a lot of the stuff we're talking about. Like, it's funny, like in the audience, only Oscar said, "Do you believe in Santa Claus?" Okay, that's funny, right? But I think there is a lot of proof to a lot of this stuff we're talking about. But like, it's weird. Like in the paranormal, it's like it doesn't want to give you evidence. Like look at Skinwalker Ranch, for example. Like nobody can still tell what's going on there, and that thing acts like a trickster. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. And then maybe about the afterlife, maybe we're not supposed to know what's in store for us when we leave here. Maybe it's a big mystery for whatever reason, I don't know.
I do believe that. I believe that's why you have some people that can see these things, some people that can't. But I can't even really say that, because I think that most people are born with the ability to see ghosts and spirits and stuff.
I think all people are really,
yeah.
and
I think you lose it. I think it's something that's lost, and I think that the way it's lost is, I think it's innocent. So I don't think that it's something that parents are doing on purpose, but I think it's innocent. But I think it's lost because kids will be talking to their imaginary friends or all this other stuff, and parents are just like, oh yeah, well, it's your imaginary friend, they really don't exist, that you're not really seeing that's not really happening. And so we've all got filters in our heads, right? When it comes to a lot of this stuff, our reality is filtered 100%. Right. Our brains and everything have all these filters in there. And so what you see and what you experience every day is filtered. And I think that when you start adding these layers in there, especially to these kids, telling them these things don't exist, that doesn't happen, it's just a pretend friend, it starts adding more filters.
Yeah.
And luckily, when I was a kid, I didn't get that. My mom actually encouraged it. So
that's cool. But I see what you're saying. It's like the indoctrination. It's like a lot of these kids, they're like 4 years old or 3 years old. You hear them having like reincarnation memories, which I find fascinating.
I try to talk to all my grandkids and stuff. I always try to talk to them about it. Like, because what's amazing with stuff like that is like, and again, a lot of people just, aren't they so cute? But when a kid says, I remember being big, or when I was big, I used to do this, or when I was big, I used to remember driving here. Mm-hmm. Kids say those things all the time. It's because they haven't quite forgotten yet. That's my opinion. But I really do believe that.
We're going to flip the switch here. I got a question from Steven. What is Rob's theory on Bigfoot or cryptids in general?
I feel like they exist. I mean, again, I don't have proof for it, but like where I'm from, I don't know if he heard the beginning. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we have a pretty big like cryptid community here. I would say, we have the Chestnut Ridge where they get a lot of sightings of like cryptids, Dogman, Bigfoot. There's a lot of Bigfoot researchers here in Pennsylvania. It's a pretty big thing, Bigfoot, I would say, I think it's like an interdimensional creature. I mean, that's what it seems like. I know probably a lot of people tell you that, but that's what it seems like to me. The fact that it can be in our reality and then not be in our reality, and the fact that it's so elusive, and the fact that it seems to have like supernatural abilities, all makes me think that it's I think it's something like that as compared to like and I think it still could be a flesh and blood creature just from another dimension that happens to be able to come into our, but then, I've had Stan Gordon say that he's seen, this is going to sound hilarious, but he's seen, not him personally, but he's had people say he saw Bigfoot holding an orb, he saw Bigfoot like coming off of a UFO or right near a UFO, so there's like that connection between Bigfoot and UFOs. It's fascinating to me, I don't know. I don't have any complete answers, but that's what I'm hearing here,
Yeah, we've heard many people talk about orbs,
Yes,
and UFO sightings with a Bigfoot sighting, and you just can't deny it, really. I mean,
or how the fact that they can just seem to disappear.
yeah,
You'll see a trackway, and then all of a sudden it's just not there no more in the middle of a field.
a lot of people talk about portals or coming through portals. Scott Carpenter, he was a researcher here close to us, and he actually captured a portal opening up and a creature coming out of it on film.
Wow.
Yep.
And yeah, it was weird.
Well, and then what's his name? Doug we during the Bigfoot festival this last weekend that came in.
Yeah.
He's a filmmaker and he was a speaker there, and he came because we did a live show while the festival was going on, but he came and spent 45 minutes with us, and he has a couple movies out, and I'm telling you, I watched one of them, and it's towards the end of it, but they were out and you could see this orb just as plain as day. I mean, it's a big orb and it's changing colors and stuff, and at one point it gets really, really bright. But what's neat about it is that they started focusing on for some reason the camera was trying to focus weird and stuff. There was a Bigfoot on the ground, like kind of army crawling, and it was almost like that orb was trying to take your eyes off of what was happening in front of them with that thing crawling towards them, and have you focusing on that bright orb. It was really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Like, I have a sighting. I have actually two sightings. I could tell you a little bit about them. Like, it was weird. Like, remember, recently there was like that big drone craze. Like, like the drones were showing up everywhere. Well, and I have this drone on my Instagram. It looks kind of like a plane. So anybody wants to check it, but it's weird because it has a light on the front of it, and it looks aerodynamically weird. And people can even zoom in on it, and see what they think. And I even put a caption. I put, this came over my apartment during the drone craze. Let me know what you think. So, I'm not saying it's a drone. I'm not saying it's a plane. I don't know what it is. But I went out to smoke one night after a podcast, and I happened to look up in the sky and I saw it. I was like, holy shit. I captured that. But then a few days later, I was walking to the store, and, we have BP gas stations here in Pennsylvania. I was right above the BP gas station, like 300 feet in the air. There was this weird, like plasmoid, like shape-shifting orb that was like green and purple. And it was fascinating. I tried getting that on camera, and my whole camera like jammed. It was like, it did. And then what was weird was like, everybody's like driving by, and nobody's noticing this but me. You know what I mean? Nobody's stopping to like film it but me. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of, I guess 300 feet's pretty high. I don't know. But you'd think that other people would have noticed this. No one else noticed it. Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. I tried filming it. It totally knocked my camera out. But that was like the closest thing I've had to a UFO. Those two things were like the closest I've had to like any kind of UFO sighting. I've still never seen like in person, like like a craft or anything like that,
Yeah. And that's crazy.
It is.
That's awesome. I've never had anything like that happen.
No, we've seen, when we first started this show back in 2012, we got done with the show, and then we was outside talking. We did see.
It was interesting.
It was very interesting. It was super high up. Oh,
it was high up, but it was
Shiny.
perfectly round and bright white, like a I don't know, what would you say? Almost like,
I thought it looked like the Tic Tac thing,
but
but
it was just perfect circle, and it was bright white. And it was going from west to east. And what was crazy is as far west as we could see it, this thing covered the ground and went past us in less than a minute.
yeah.
And when it got just a little ways past us, it started blinking out. So it went bright, dim, bright, dim, bright, dim, off.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was interesting. And we was like, maybe we just saw something. It was moving fast, and there was no, normally if it's a jet or something, you could still hear it. But
Yeah, at that point, we thought we'd seen a UFO. Maybe we did.
maybe, yeah.
Wow.
Now, I had a very elusive dream about aliens, and
Oh, you did.
yeah, I'm gonna tell this story. So I had gotten sick. I'd got my lung had collapsed due to fluid buildup because my heart went into AFib. So I'm wait. It's been 3 months. In between the 3 months that they finally fixed, the AFib, I had this dream about, and it was very lucid. I mean, I was in the house and I saw these bright lights outside. So I come outside, and it felt like I was there. And there was a little boy who looked human to me, that he pointed something at me and kind of shot me in the leg or back. I can't remember, but it like paralyzed me. Yeah, I fell to the ground. I couldn't move at all. And then there was like 2 or 3 over me that they looked human. They did have blonde hair.
So it was like a Nordic.
Yeah. And he kind of put his hand on this was before they did the thing to put it back in rhythm. He put his hand on my chest, and I asked him what he was doing or something. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, he did that, and he said they were wanting me to go with them. And I told them, no, I cannot leave because I have kids and things like that. So they just took me up in something. I don't know if it was their ship or something, but I looked around and everything, and next thing I know, I'm back sleeping in my bed. It was weird, and it felt like I was there.
I think you had an experience.
I think you did too. I think that's very real,
But they were very, very compassionate, and I felt love from them. It was crazy.
That's so cool. That is so cool. That's I don't know. That's amazing. That's yeah.
I remember when you came in and you told me that story, and I was like,
it was wild, man.
You're gonna be better.
Yeah. I was worried there for a little bit, but everything worked out, and I'm good to go again. Gained a few pounds, but you ever had any dreams like that, like you were abducted?
No. Well, I had something weird happen. Like this was so like I said, I was trying to have like out of body this is New Year's Eve of 20. I still have it on my phone. It was New Year's Eve of 2024. I went to sleep with my phone in my pocket. I mean, we all worry about EMF, like radiation. I had like something like I had it in what do you call it? Like a Faraday kit, a Faraday bag, right? But like I was using it because like my headphones were connected to like the phone, and I was trying to listen to binaural beats, but when I went to sleep, because I wanted to try to stimulate to have an out of body experience. Well, I woke up, and I was working out a lot. So I was like going to work out, and I checked my pedometer, and it said the night before, and I can send you this picture. I still have it on my phone. It said I went 140. I said the night before, it happened the night before, that I went 140 million steps. It said that I traveled 60,000 miles, and it said I was going 6,000 miles per hour. It
Wow.
and it never happened again. It never happened again. So I was like, how can that app make that kind of mistake if it was a mistake? You know what I mean? And what was weird was like my friends did like a hypnosis session that night, and they all went like they all tried to meet in the hypnosis session, and they said I was there, but I didn't know I was there. I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything at all. Like, I could have been taken by something, I don't know, or it could be a mistake on the app. But like the fact that the app never did that again is like really, weird.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We need to start wearing those at night, and with the watch and stuff, just to see.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Only thing that I ever had that was weird like that is that I've got that weird thing that's in my arm right here.
Yeah.
I've got like a little disc. It's probably, I don't know, size of maybe a dime. And I could even flip it up on an edge, and you could feel the edge of it. But that's all I've got.
You got an implant.
Yeah. I don't know if it's an implant or not, but
remember hearing the stories of Whitley Strieber's implant? They said that they tried to remove it and the implant moved.
Kept moving. Yes.
That was hilarious.
That would be terrible. Would that be like a scary movie or something, though? I mean, you go to try to get something out and it just goes deeper.
Yeah.
That's horrible, right? But then he said that the implants started to work. I follow him, and he said like the implants started working for him, and it started giving him like all this information. And I don't know, like it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah,
I like him. He's a good. I'm a fan of Whitley Strieber.
Yep. I think he's very credible.
Yeah,
I do.
So Rob, you want to go ahead and tell everybody we want to try to stay under 2 hours so we can.
Yeah, it's so funny. I didn't want to say anything, but I got a show in 13 minutes on my channel. It's at 10 o'clock Eastern. I'm doing a show, and then I have another show at 11:30 Eastern with a few ladies that are like going to come on. So it's I have a pretty busy night ahead of me. But I mean, I just want to say, like, first of all, like, thank you so much. Like, you guys are awesome. I could talk to you guys forever. Like, you guys are so cool and down to earth, and like, I'll come on your show anytime. I hope this was interesting for your audience.
Yes.
And
very. Yeah.
And I'll have you on my show anytime. Anytime you guys want to come on, you have a spot. I totally enjoyed myself 100%. This was like really genuine and awesome. And yeah, thanks for like hearing my crazy stuff. And
hey, it's all right. Sometimes you just need an outlet.
Yeah.
And someone that'll listen.
Yeah.
Truly, not just hear you. There's a difference.
Yeah. Where can people see your shows? So make sure they know.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. That's at Truth Seeker 5197. So it's real easy. So YouTube, just look at it's called Typical Skeptic Podcast 2.0 on YouTube, because the first one got taken down, and Jason just shared the audience. And then where I want really people to really follow me is on Rumble at rumble.com/typical skeptic, because I don't know what the future is with YouTube, but Rumble is a little bit better for now. But I'd eventually like to get on my own network. And then I'm also on every audio platform for right now. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that stuff. And then I even have an archive on Odyssey they can check out. You just type in Typical Skeptic Podcast on Odyssey. I'm on there. And then I even have a TikTok, but like I said, I don't post a lot on TikTok because like they're definitely censoring. So,
Right. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and we hope we could do this again.
Yeah,
sometime.
we'll keep in touch. If you ever want us to come back on the show, just holler at us and we'll make it happen.
All right, that sounds good, and thank you guys so much. And yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah, thanks. All right,
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
You have a good night. Have a good show.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, that was Rob Kalil, the skeptic, the Typical Skeptic podcast.
Yeah.
He does like 2 or 3 podcasts a day.
Yeah, I know, because I'll get
he is busy
all the time, and I'm like, holy smokes, man. Thank you, Jason.
Yes, thanks.
Thanks, Cindy. I want to thank everybody that showed up tonight for this podcast, because I had a good time.
Yeah, it was great.
And, you know, it's fun when you could talk about just a ton of different subjects.
Yeah.
You know, you're not stuck to just one thing.
Right.
So I love it.
Yeah, I like the way he thinks too. I mean,
yeah,
he's really down to earth. Like,
he is.
He's not hard to talk to.
Yeah. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah. So, got a few announcements to make. We're going to be at the Knox Public Library on Cedar Bluff here in Knoxville, Tennessee, October the 11th at 2 p.m. We're going to be giving a little paranormal presentation. We might get into some Bigfoot or something like that. It's paranormal. Also, we're going to be at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference, July the 26th.
Yes.
It's really a great time up there. I mean, great show. It's going to be at the conference center in Gatlinburg. We always have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Then later in October, which I don't know the exact date, but it is the Upper Cumberland. It might be in September.
It's October.
It's one of the two.
Yeah, it's towards the end of October.
Yeah. So it's the Upper Cumberland Bigfoot Festival in Cookeville, Tennessee. We went last year, had a great time.
Yeah.
Hope to see some of you guys come to some of these events.
Man, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
We get to see so many people and get to talk to so many people at these events. It's amazing.
Thank
you, Stephen.
Yeah, you finally got here on time.
Yeah.
Roy, thank you. Thank everybody for watching and listening.
Yep. For everybody that's on Facebook watching and YouTube watching. We didn't get to go on Rumble tonight for some reason. It just didn't want to.
Didn't want to work.
Just said nope. Every time we tried to connect. So no Rumble tonight. So again, like Jason said, thanks everybody. And we will see you next week, Thursday. We got someone on Saturday too, don't we?
Oh yeah. We got
Thrulus
Draconis Hannes. He's gonna be live here and we're gonna be taking callers, so you don't want to miss this one. You can call in and he's gonna read your cards from tarot.
Yep. He's going to do a tarot reading. So we're going to open up the phone lines. And so come in and have your cards read.
We'll probably talk to him for just a few minutes and then start accepting calls. Hope everybody can join us then.
Especially if the phone board lights up. We could hold 35 calls. And if that thing starts filling up, then we'll just go to it.
Yeah, we want you to call in. It'll be a great show for you. And
this is the third time we've had Thrulus on, and he is fun.
Yeah,
he's a lot of fun. So
if you can make it next Saturday,
same time, same bat channel. Yeah. All right. So remember, you can find us at paranormal411.org, Paranormal 411 on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Also Rumble. Tune in live every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturdays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also on Saturday nights, which is about to happen, from 10 to 11, if you're in the metro Atlanta area, you can catch us on WDJY FM. That's 99.1 FM. And if you're outside of Atlanta, you can still catch us at WDJYFM.com, or you go to paranormal411.org, click the link, and listen to us there. We are on Subspace Radio and all major podcast platforms. We have a book.
We do. We have a
East
book.
Tennessee Hauntings and Lore Edition 2. It's available on Amazon. Or again, you go to paranormal411.org and click the link. That's East Tennessee Hauntings and Lore Edition 2. Join us. Thank you, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? what secrets the night hides, what strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception. Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.